All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video after the NFL draft. Check out Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., and they're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Well, interesting article today that I read on Bleacher Report. Written by Alex K. NFL backups who could earn starting jobs before the 2023 season. And one of the guys they have listed here is Robert Beal Jr., the edge rusher that the Niners just drafted out of the University of Georgia. And obviously, the Niners have Nick Bosa, who's the reigning defensive player of the year. He's the anchor of the 49ers defensive front coming off the edge. He's a big time player. Everybody knows it. But they did lose a lot in free agency in the offseason. They lost Samson Ebukam, who was their starter. They lost Jordan Willis, and they lost Charles Omenihu, all in free agency. Now they went out and they found a couple guys. They brought in Cleveland Farrell. They brought in Austin Bryant. But, I mean, neither of those guys has really distinguished themselves as a big-time player in the NFL, and both have been in the league for 4 or 5 years. Now, Drake Jackson's also in this mix, and I would imagine if Drake Jackson, starts to really improve and he played well as a rookie. He was a second-round pick last year. He was inactive for 2 of the final 3 games of the regular season. He was inactive for all 3 playoff games. But I think Drake is going to wind up playing a significant role this year. I expect him to come firing back with a vengeance and play really, really well. But there's an opportunity here for any young, talented edge rusher to step in and make plays. Niners lost about 700 snaps when they lost Willis, Omenihu, and Ebukam. And Drake, will definitely take some of those. And Farrell and Austin Bryant will probably take some of those as well. But Beal has a real opportunity to climb this depth chart. Now, he spent a long time at Georgia, but he only started 10 games in college. And, John Lynch talked about how he talked to Kirby Smart, and Kirby was like, hey, man, if you just let this guy set the edge and get upfield at 6'4", nearly 250 with 4.4 speed, he's going to do the job. And kind of almost, kind of referring to, or at least, going into the idea that Beal's not a great coverage player, kind of suggesting that coverage is not his bag. But man, if you wanted somebody who can get up the field and rush the quarterback off the edge, he's all for you. If you're looking for somebody who can just, shoot up the field and set the edge in the run game, Beal's your guy. But if you need him to drop in coverage, that's really not his game, and that's not where he's going to make an impact. But this guy is really an interesting player the more you look at Robert Beal Jr., because he was a 5-star recruit. This guy went to Peachtree Ridge High School, and Georgia gets so many top recruits. This guy led Georgia in sacks in 2021. That team won the national championship, and Beal led them with 6.5 sacks. And he had 23 tackles, a couple pass breakups. He played 15 games, 2 starts. And then he helped Georgia as an 8-game starter with 26 tackles and 3 sacks in 15 appearances this last year. But, it's funny. It's like sometimes guys with huge talent kind of fall through the cracks. And, you look at Beal, and you're like, Robert Beal is an absolute freak of nature as an athlete. He's got wingspan of nearly 7 feet. He's got a sturdy base. I mean, this guy flashes big time speed off the edge, but he only made 10 starts in 5 seasons. So you're sitting there going, well, why? Why did he not play very much? And the reality is that Georgia's stacked. They're loaded. They got all kinds of guys. And if they want this guy to drop into coverage and he's not doing it well, they can go to a different guy. So, to me, I think this is a player to really watch for the 49ers this summer. Why? Because they're, being 6'4", 240, or in this case, 6'4", almost 250, 34 and 5/8 inch arms. So you're talking about ridiculously long arms, 10 and an eighth inch hands, and 4.48 speed with a 1.62 split, 30-inch vert, 10.3 broad jump. He's a great athlete. There's no question about it. Born and raised in Duluth, Georgia, great athlete, and winds up at Georgia, but doesn't wind up playing that much. But, in this situation where the 49ers, have that wide nine and, Chris is looking for guys who can just get up the field and burn the edge. When they look at their options, I think they're going to love what they see with Robert Beal. Now, why? Because, you got Bose on the other side. And if you had a really scary, speed rusher like Beal Jr. on the other side, and he can just shoot up the field, that in and of itself creates an impact. And when you have Bosa and Hargrave and Eric Armstead on the same line, that may be all Robert Beal Jr. needs to do to get in there and make an impact for the 49ers. Set the edge in the run game, get up the field and burn the edge as a pass rusher, dip that shoulder and go hunt quarterbacks. That's it. Don't worry about anything else. There are other positions where, man, you need a level of refinement and you need, lots of experience, and there's just an awful lot of diagnosing, for the wide nine. And what Chris is looking for, he's looking for a special athlete who's firing up field, and who's got that impact, those impact traits. What are the impact traits? The ability to rush the passer, really long arms, big hands, strong hands, and great speed. And Robert Beal Jr. has it all. He's got the 6'4" height. He's got the 250-pound frame. He's got the nearly 35-inch arms and the 10-inch hands. And he's got a lot of those things. And he's got 4.4 speed. So I can't wait to see it. It's going to be a lot of fun watching this guy this summer. And the one thing you can say is, I can see why people would say, man, Robert Beal Jr., look for him to bust out. Why? Because there's not a lot of competition here. I mean, if the Niners sign Yannick Ngakoue or Leonard Floyd or Frank Clark, okay, then, that pushes Beal down a little bit. But the reality is, Cleveland Farrell has 10 sacks in 4 seasons. Austin Bryant is much more of a run defender than a pass defender. There's options here. I mean, there's going to be reps here for somebody who can get after the quarterback. And when you got Nick Bosa on the other side, and you can put an athlete like Robert Beal Jr. opposite him, you may really have something. So I think, it's a combination of people saying, wow, look at the traits on this player. And then look at the, the snaps that are going to be available at defensive end in this, if you look at that 49er depth chart, and people are just putting 2 and 2 together and saying, wait, Robert Beal's got a world of talent. Chris is going to simplify things for him so he knows exactly what he needs to do. He can do the things that the 49ers need him to do. And there's snaps available. If you got talent and you can rush the passer, you're going to get on the field for the 49ers, because they've been deep in the past at defensive end. This year, if you look at their line, they're really deep at defensive tackle and not as deep at defensive end. It's great news for Robert Beal Jr. He's going to have a real opportunity to show up in Santa Clara this summer and show out and get himself a job. All right, hope you enjoyed the 49er video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being a title sponsor of The Krug Show. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.